Our next speaker is Lieutenant General Shaukin Chauhan, Param Vishish Seva Medal, Ati Vishish Seva Medal, Yuddha Seva Medal, Sena Medal, and VSM. The General is an alumnus of St. Columbus High School, New Delhi, the NDA, the Defense Services Staff College, the Army War College, and the National Defense College, New Delhi. He was commissioned in the 11 Gurkha Rifles in December 79. In his illustrious career, he commanded a battalion, a mountain brigade, a mountain division, and a strike corps. He has also been the military attaché at the Indian Embassy in Nepal, Additional Director General Public Information at the Army Headquarters, and the Director General of the Assam Rifles. Post-retirement, he headed the ceasefire monitoring group for the implementation of the agreed ceasefire rules between the center and the insurgent outfits in the Northeast. He's a prolific writer and very active in the lecture circuits. The good general will speak on leveraging traditional ties with Nepal. I will not keep you waiting for his very presentation, and we look forward to it. Over to General Chauhan.
Thank you, General Chaturvedi. Thank you, Strive India, for calling me. It's wonderful to see old friends, many of whom I haven't met for a long time. I see Major AK there, an old colleague and a mentor in many ways. I see my good friend Binod Basnet there, and of course Dushyant and all of you. Great to see you all. Great to be a part of this wonderful group of veterans. And congratulations on having started Strive India, and thank you for calling me. Now, the topic given to me is leveraging traditional ties with Nepal to strengthen our relationship with the Indo-Nepal relationship. For a military man to be given cultural subjects is a little difficult, but since I've stayed some time, and as you mentioned, sir, I was the DA in Nepal during a very difficult time. I was there during 2004 to 2007. That coincided with the time of the second Jan Andolan. When I went to Nepal in June 2004, Nepal was a monarchy. It was a stable monarchy, and there was no problem. Everything was going well. And I remember going to meet the king. The DA doesn't present credentials, but at the same time, the DA does go and meet the king. And I remember meeting the king and also taking my ambassador to meet the king when he came in after Ambassador Shamsaran left. But when I left Nepal in 2007, December or November, it had changed entirely. It had changed from a monarchy to a raucous democracy. A situation where nothing was clear really. Prachanda had just come in. Girija Prasad Koirala was the Prime Minister. But we always knew that there were a lot of changes. They hadn't yet agreed to the constitution, but the constitution was being written. There were changes every day, and every day there were lots of situations which required there was a lot of need to continue a relationship, and that's the time I realized how important Nepal will always be to India. Now, when you speak of culture, sir, there are a couple of issues that I'd like to tell you about. There is a shared history. Dushyant has spoken of the shared history. We must know that should be able to share Lord Buddha. We have a shared Hindu culture, our gods and our dhams. I wonder how many of you actually know that there are 4 dhams in India, in Nepal also. The temple of Lord Pashupatinath, the temple of Lord Muktinath, the Baraha Kshetra, and the Ruru Kshetra. Let me tell you a little about the Ruru Kshetra and the Baraha Kshetra and where all they are. The Baraha Kshetra is actually an important Hindu pilgrimage in the eastern Nepal, on the banks of the mighty Saptakoshi River, which is away from the buzzing town of Biratnagar. And actually, Binod Basnet talked of Siliguri. From Siliguri, Biratnagar is barely an hour and a half on a good road. It's the commercial hub of eastern Nepal. Baraha Kshetra gets its name from the Baraha avatar, the third incarnation of Lord Vishnu, according to the Puranas. In fact, the king of Nepal used to be, or often took himself to be, one of the incarnations of Lord Vishnu. So Lord Vishnu took the Baraha avatar to kill the demon Hiranyaksha. The main attraction of Kshetra is the white Shikara style temple dedicated to Lord Vishnu, one of the Trimurti or the Holy Trinity. It is also believed that Lord Vishnu killed Hiranyaksha at this very place. Similarly, we have the Pashupatinath. It's again one of the holiest pilgrimages in Nepal. And the issue why I'm covering is that there are so many commonalities as you go to Nepal. If you travel in Kathmandu or you travel along all the villages of Nepal, you really don't feel that you've left India. The next issue that we must really talk about, and Vinod Bashnet covered this as well as Dushyant covered this, is the sharing of the river waters between India and Nepal. General Chaturvedi, you spoke about the power potential of Nepal. It's remained a potential. And for long, even I remember those 3.5 years in the embassy, we tried our best to try and get some kind of agreement to try and start producing power together, as we were doing, and we have successfully done in Bhutan. But the issue is that more than anything else, what really stops us is the suspicion and the lack of trust between each other. Two of Nepal's three major river systems, the Koshi and the Saptagandaki, also known as Narayani in Nepal and the Gandak in India, flow down the Indian plain and finally drain into the Ganga. The Ganga Bhagirathi Hooghly river system was declared a national waterway by India in 1986. I don't know if you're aware about the problems that the flow of flood waters cause on the Indo-Gangetic plains. For long, the government of Bihar and the government of Eastern UP have tried to construct abutments and have tried to construct a lot of issues to make sure that there is some kind of flood control on these between the waters of India and Nepal. But every year we have floods in this area. If only we had got together and made some kind of system by which we could have prevented a lot of problems between each other by just creating and having trust on each other. Dushyant also spoke about the kind of another commonality, which is the Indian Army and the Gurkhas of the Indian Army. Part of the defense attache's job in Nepal is to pay pension. And when I was there in Nepal, the pensioners were 124,800. So 124,800 pensioners used to be paid by hand every month in 16 different district soldier boards. We had taken up a case with the government in Nepal at that time, I'm talking of 2005, to increase the number of district soldier boards. And by the time I was leaving in 2007, the government of Nepal gave us 5 more district soldier boards. So we have 21 district soldier boards that are located between the east to west of Nepal. Almost every district of Nepal, every important district of Nepal, every district where our soldiers stay has a district soldier board. That means the Indian Army and the government of India have a presence in each part of Nepal. And the presence is not just nominal. There's a phenomenal goodwill that is there between the people who have served in the Indian Army, their families, and the Indian Army. When you go to a soldier's house in Nepal, and I'm certain that some of the Gurkha soldiers here and Gurkha officers here would be aware that the most important place is kept for a memento of the battalion. Everything that they have learned in the unit is replicated in their homes. They wear with pride the blazer They wear with pride the tie. They wear with pride the insignia of the regiment. Not only they, their children do it. I don't know if you're all aware that I am also doing my PhD. In fact, I've submitted my PhD thesis on Nepal. And one of the issues that came up in my thesis was, what do our pensioners feel between the issues between India and Nepal? I'm talking on soldiering. I spoke to 100 odd soldiers about, and what they told me was amazing. They said, sir, we can never forget what India is to us, but we are Nepalis. So the issue is that when you have 128,000 pensioners, and if you multiply that by a family of 5, you come to approximately 10 lakh people in Nepal who are paid directly by us. Why would the countries of India and Nepal have a problem? I haven't understood. Binod Basnet spoke about the politician. I agree with you entirely, Binod. Binod, I was Binod's sponsor also during the NDC, and we agree on almost everything about this. And I'm absolutely clear that every issue has been a wrong reaction either on Nepal or by us. I have traveled the absolute extent of Nepal, from the east to the west, from the north to the east. Let me just give you an idea of the demographics of Nepal and why it's important that we shouldn't react to small pinpricks, as Binod Basnet said, the pinpricks that are provided by the politicians of the day, who either say they're defending the honor and integrity of the country, or the opponents or the opposite, who say they're defending the country from the government. Now, Nepal is actually, you should look at Nepal in 3 different segments. One is the Tarai region, the region that flows into India. This is the most populous part of Nepal. 49 to 50% of the population of Nepal lives in the Tarai. Almost 90% of these people have shared families in India. Almost 90%, maybe 95% of these people. When Dushyant spoke about the fact that in 2007, when they were talking about giving citizenship, it was this particular issue. A lot of people of Tarai had not been given citizenship by the government of Nepal. This was given in 2007. So almost 50% of the population of Nepal lives in the Tarai. The next part of Nepal are the middle hills of Nepal. The middle hills where the soldiers who serve in the Indian Army live. The Guguruns, the Magars, the Rais, the Limbus. This is the place where if you go outside the Kathmandu Valley and you travel east to west, 90% of the families in each of those villages have someone who has served in the Indian Army or someone who wants to serve in the Indian Army. You go to any village, the first issue is, the DA has come, will you take this boy to the Indian Army? You will have your soldiers coming, you will have this. I'm talking about the affiliation that we have between each other, which everyone seems to miss out. And then the third part of Nepal are the upper Himalayas. The population of the upper Himalayas, the Sherpas, where the Sherpas and Tamangs live, are very few. And actually the upper Himalayas don't take much part in the political proceedings of Nepal. But the noise that is made by the people who live in Kathmandu or the self-serving politicians is the noise that we hear. Why is it that somehow we don't hear the noise of the rest of the people of Nepal? Why are we not hearing the voice of the rest of the people of Nepal? During the Jan Andolan 2, I entered Nepal from the Lipu Lake Pass. I went across the bridge from Mahendranagar and I traveled down. I traveled to the towns of Palpa, to Surkhet, to Nepalganj. I went along that way to Butwal and further along the Mahendra Rajmarg right till Siliguri. This is during the Jan Andolan. And there wasn't one person who said that India was wrong or India is bad. There's a difference between politicians. There's not a difference between the people of India and the people of Nepal. The people of India and the people of Nepal are one people. We are merely two nations. And when we start understanding, because I'm talking to a group of people who are soldiers, who understand soldiering, who understand the issue of not being politicized, of our thoughts not being broken by politicians. I am convinced, sir, I'm convinced that we as people are one people. I'm convinced that we can live happily. And the next issue that you talk about is this issue about China. And there's so much noise about China. But I don't think we've read history. China has always had a place in Nepal. Other than the time when Britain became the supreme power between 1834 to 1950. And probably I would take it till the time when China entered Tibet, 1951, 52, 53. Just this point, just this 1 century. For the rest of the century, and I'm certain Binod Basnet will bear me out, is that China has always had a place in the history of Nepal. It is not today. It is not that we are losing space in Nepal because of our own stupidities. China is a neighbor of Nepal. She has a place there. It is for us to understand and to leverage the closeness of our people and not get afraid because China can build one better road than us. And if China can build roads, why on earth can't we build the roads? Every road that has been built, everything that has been built by us simply does not stand the test of time because the wrong people built it there. So I rest my case, sir. All I can say is that culturally, we are one people. The people of Nepal, when you talk to them, and you must talk to the rest of Nepal, not just the Kathmandu Valley. Talk to the people of Mahendranagar, talk to the people of Biratnagar, talk to the people of East Nepal, of Central Nepal, talk to everybody. Why are we just listening to the noise from Kathmandu? Thirdly, we have 128,000 pensioners putting in 1,100 to 1,200 crores of Indian rupees every month as pension. They have up to 10 family members who depend on that pension. There are more than 65 lawmakers, that is people belong to the Legislative Assembly, who are children of our soldiers. And those children too, because I have personally met them, share a very, very warm thought process and very warm feelings towards India, because many of them have been educated in India. The unfortunate thing is, sir, even as service people, we do not understand history, we don't talk of geography, we don't talk of anything. And I would really request you all that please look at these issues. We are actually one people. So thank you, sir, for giving me this time. I am extremely passionate about the issue of Nepal. I have lived there. I have traveled in Nepal. I belong to the Gorkha Rifles. I have very, very close friends in Nepal, and many of them are brothers in many ways. They have fought for me, they have died for me, and I too feel the same. For many years, when I was a young officer, I had adopted a young boy of my soldier's nephew, made him study in Nepal. So I am very close to that part, and I have visited many villages of Nepal. All I can request is that don't listen to just the noise of one place. Listen to the rest of Nepal. There's a different sound and a different meaning there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, General Shaukin Chauhan. I think it was a very, very passionate and revealing presentation by General Chauhan. He talked of shared history. He talked of shared Buddhist traditions and Hindu traditions. He talked of existing suspicion, which is more on account of politicians, which kind of corroborates what General Basnet had mentioned. He talked of the the ethnic divide in the Nepal and what needs to be done. I'm most impressed with his last part where he talks of that we must talk to the people. There is no question of not being together when we have so much of groundswell and goodwill for us. And I think all we can do is that myopic politicians be kept away from Indo-Nepal relations. The relations will thrive. Thank you. It was a very, very nice presentation.